Purdue Pharma, maker of the opioid OxyContin, has filed for bankruptcy protection after a partial deal to settle thousands of lawsuits. This move is intended to, in part, to shield Purdue's owner, the Sackler family, from further liability. And while 24 states have agreed to the settlement, many have not, meaning there is uncertainty in the air. And here with me to shed some light on this is attorney and author of the United States of Opioids, Harry Nelson. Thanks for coming back, Harry.
Amrit, great to be with you.
So, first and foremost, just set the scene with this settlement and the bankruptcy pleading.
Sure. So the bankruptcy has been in discussion for about 6 months, but what happened yesterday is that the Purdue board met and they approved the settlement. And so in order to move it forward, they filed for bankruptcy in New York. And what they basically did is they took this case out of the 2600 party case in Ohio before in Cleveland, and they moved it before this bankruptcy judge. So now the bankruptcy judge has the power to oversee the resolution of the dispute, to referee between the 24 states and the plaintiff lawyers who support this settlement, along with Purdue, and the 26 states that are not in favor of the settlement.
And so why are these states not in favor of the settlement?
So the big issue is whether there's enough money on the table, right? Purdue's been saying this is a $10 to $12 billion settlement. The Attorney General of New York has been questioning whether we're going to get anywhere close to those numbers. And also the question is, how much responsibility are we going to look for Purdue to accept? Are we just going to take their money, or are we going to ask for some acknowledgement of the harm caused here?
And some of this bankruptcy pleading, too, is an attempt to shield from liability for the Sackler family, and they're at the heart of this as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Sacklers are putting, under this deal, they're putting in $3 billion. They're agreeing to sell this British pharmaceutical company, Purdue Pharma. That's going to be the rest of the money. But the New York Attorney General, for example, is claiming that $1 billion was taken out of Purdue Pharma in the last couple of years through wire transfers into personal family accounts. So the question is, are the Sacklers going to have to cough up more of that money?
There's so much legal uncertainty around this as we move forward, and we could talk about that for a long time, but we're also looking at the 2020 election, and President Trump has declared a state of emergency around the opioid crisis and has put a couple of $1 billion towards it. However, a lot of critics say that's not enough. A lot of Democrats in particular, they have their own ideas, and Elizabeth Warren has the CARE Act, it's $100 billion over 10 years. Talk to us about some of those ideas and which ideas you feel are resonating in this.
So, Elizabeth Warren has gotten a lot of attention for the CARE Act. That is a bill that would put $100 billion over the next 10 years into this problem. And the criticism has been that there's not enough money flowing in. The big question is where we're going to spend the money. The big issue that we really are seeing is a demand for medication-assisted treatment. That's products like Suboxone and Methadone, how much access we're going to create, because the government, what we're seeing is that there just isn't enough access on the ground. And then there's a lot of controversy about what else we do. Getting more naloxone, Narcan, the overdose reversal drug, is important, but a lot of controversy about, do we fund sterile needle exchange programs? Do we fund supervised injection? Still a lot to be worked out.
As someone who's studied this a lot, you've written the book, between harm reduction and treating addiction, in a quick word, a lot of people have a moral issue with harm reduction. I think harm reduction is the only way we're going to bring the death toll down. And we have to accept that we're going to have to take a longer approach towards actually reducing the number of people who have an addiction. It's unfortunate that we're going to have to talk about this a lot more, but we are, and we look forward to having you back.
Thanks for having me again.
Thank you, Harry. Appreciate it.